Everyone, welcome back to another RuneScape weekly live stream. We missed you yesterday. We were really excited to get some JVM going on with myself and Mod Spear, but unfortunately, Spear got sick, and all our best to him. And we were gutted. We were trying to get someone to come on with me, but if you hadn't heard the news, mobile's looming on the horizon. Everyone is very busy here at Jagex now, just getting ready for it. So, really sorry about that, but hopefully today will be interesting for you. And speaking of interesting, if you haven't joined us before for one of these, this is what we call a tea time. It's our opportunity to sit down with another JMod from someone here at Jagex, get to know them a little better, find out more about what they do. And in this case, I think if you're an aspiring creator, you maybe learn some tricks of the trade or some tips and hints about what it means to be an awesome creator and kind of send your career trajectory flying up. I'm putting a lot of pressure on you there, Bolton.
Mate, you're really selling it super hard. I don't know.
But speaking of which, so yeah, everyone please welcome Mold Bolton, who is the subject of our tea time today, who is head of influencer management here at Jagex.
Hey there,
Hey, Bolton,
lovely
how
to
you
meet you,
doing?
everybody.
You
Hey,
as hot as
Monhuli,
I
how's it
am.
going?
Look at this fog
Actually,
on my
so I have
glasses.
every window. I have every window open on my flat possible, but
Hmm.
unfortunately, so people may have detected from my accent, I'm American, and the UK hasn't discovered this really advanced piece of technology called a window screen. So now I'm hot and my apartment is full of bugs. So yeah, it's a
Yeah, I had
win-win
that when I
situation
went
for me right
to
now.
when I was in Canada as well, which was also really good for keeping cats in. And unfortunately, I can't have a lot of my windows open because cats. So if you are watching from outside the UK, it is 26 degrees Celsius here today, which is rather hot for us a lot here in the UK. We're not really used
And
to
if you're
that stuff.
watching
So
from somewhere that actually has real temperatures, that is 78 degrees. So actually not hot at all for anyone that lives anywhere hot.
yeah, exactly. Anyone who's using Fahrenheit probably is like, what?
They're
Why are they
like, what?
complaining? So
Not even 80.
yeah. Yeah, just before we get started, like I said, this show isn't about giving you announcements, so there's not going to be any big news today. If you are looking for announcements, come back on Friday because we've teamed up with an amazing artist, and this will lead lovely segue into Mod Bolton and what Mod Bolton does. But we've teamed up with a community artist called Killer Fishy, who does some incredible artwork out there in the RuneScape community. If you haven't already seen it, and Killer Fishy is going to be helping us reveal our next Elder God Wars drop in a really cool way. I'm not going to spoil it. But you'll get your first look at the key art and also what the next piece of content in the Elder God War saga is going to be through Killer Fishy's reveal, which is kind of cool. And that's part of what we do. I guess we'll go straight into that, Mod Bolton. So, like, for those of the, people out there who don't know you and don't know what it means to be an influencer manager, what is it you do?
I do a lot of things. So, influencer at Jagex and influencer at a lot of places is one of those sectors of gaming that's really evolved a lot over sort of the past 5 years, and really over the past decade with the rise of Twitch and YouTube, um, and other social media platforms. So, but I think the best way to describe what I do is it's sort of a 50-50 split between influencer creator support and influencer creator marketing,
Hmm.
right? So I'll be working with the organic creators that you know and love that produce content for RuneScape and old school and potentially future Jagex titles, and making sure that they're being we're working with them closely to align on upcoming beats, that we're making sure that they have the tools and resources they need to make amazing content about the game, that we're highlighting new and up and coming creators to sort of raise their visibility when somebody's doing some great quality content that we feel needs to have more eyes on it. Just the content speaks for itself. A great example, we saw Killer Fishy's content. We said, wow, look at the skill level here. We want to be
Hmm.
utilizing this amazing creator and bringing them to more and more people. So that's a big piece there. And then also sort of our longer vision, which you're going to hear a little bit more in sort of the second half of this year, is from the support side, bringing out a bunch of services that, without giving away too much, that sort of don't really exist for the kind of work that creators do. You have to think of them as functionally independent contractors or small business owners, where some of them will have teams, a small team of editors or a small team of social people, something like that. And you really have to think of them as that sort of either independent business person or small business way, and helping them at that sort of fundamental human level with some resources that it's much easier for us to provide than for them to be able to go out and seek themselves. So that probably has spun some ideation, hopefully whet your palate a little bit of interest there, but we'll have more sort of show our hand a little bit more later this year. And then simultaneously on the other side, a big piece of what we do is influencer marketing. And so that's both influencer marketing with existing organic creators that already produce content regularly about RuneScape and old school. And that's also working with external creators who might, be variety gamers or MMO specialists, and sort of bringing them in to show their audiences and that creator all the amazing fun and engagement that RuneScape and old school RuneScape and all of Jagex's products has to provide, right? So I think that's probably the two big pillars, but in terms of the day-to-day, it can be anything. Hey, we need to create a music video or an album to, hey, we need to outreach to this large creator and do some large-scale negotiations for a promotion. So it's really varied, and that's sort of what I enjoy about it. Is I never was a person that could sort of do the same thing every day, so I really enjoy that it keeps me on my toes and keeps me thinking.
Yeah, and I think obviously on the community team we work pretty closely with the influencer team as well. And how do you, as someone who does what you do, how do you walk the line between doing these sorts of partnerships? Like you said, it's almost it's influencer has moved from just being fans and kind of working with fans to actually giving fans some monetary value or response for what they're doing, and kind of making it like you said, they're almost independent contractors. How do you walk that line between doing that sort of content and making sure it's authentic? What would you do if someone was looking to do what you did and to do it in a way that doesn't betray RuneScape or kind of the creators involved? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I think the way that works is actually pretty interesting, and really my philosophy on influencer, there's a couple competing versions of how people like to work, but the way I like to work is I sort of view influencer as back in the day when I was looking for a new game, right? When I was I've got free time, I'm 18 or even younger, and I was looking for what's going to play next. I would check PC Gamer, I would go to Barnes & Noble and go to the Prima Guide section and flip through Prima Guides, trying to get a sense of, what is this game? What am I going to really like it? And I think as gamers have evolved and marketing has evolved, the consumer, the player, has become a lot more savvy, right? They're going to know when some game, and I'm sure you all can instantly think of a game if you watch a lot of YouTube videos, where the creator is basically being paid to say something, and that, right? You know that as the viewer, they're making their money on a sponsor or something like that. And people are really aware of that, right? They don't feel that that's a really genuine recommendation. I think the way I tell people is a good influencer marketing piece is basically like your friend telling you what they really think about a game. You're going to trust it because they're your friend and they wouldn't lie to you, right? And that's sort of the creators and the messaging we're looking to work with when we do an activation. So does this person actually really enjoy the game or have a genuine interest in the game? Does this person have a history? Maybe they played it in the past and they want to come back. And then ultimately, especially a game like RuneScape, it's been around for a very long time, that we actually let them be honest with what they think about it. It's a great game, but I think anybody that plays, and because we've been around for so long, there's a lot of people who have played at some point in their life, are kind of educated on, the good parts and the less good parts. And I think if somebody doesn't really provide a fair representation, then you're immediately going to be like, this person's just shilling, and you're not really going to want to try that game. And so that's sort of the big genesis for us. A lot of the content we do is with people that have played in the past or with people that love MMOs and have always thought about, hey, let me delve into this world, and their interest is genuine, right? So, I think it's all about authenticity at the end of the day. Just having somebody say a name, if it doesn't really mean something to the creator, doesn't really do anything.
And so, talking about all this stuff, I'm sure we're going to have two people. We're going to have some people out there who are aspiring creators who are like tuning in today going like, I want to learn what it means to be a RuneScape creator or a creator in any of Jagex's programs, and looking for some tips. But before we go into that side, I'm sure there's also some people going like, how in the world did you get into this as a role?
It's a wild story. So I guess I'll just give you the sort of start to finish. So I went to university and majored in physics and archaeology, dual major, and I hated it. So I went through, jumped through the hoops and got into my senior year. And kind of during that whole time, the work was really stressful, and I was checking out, playing a lot of MMOs, playing League of Legends, playing a lot of that sort of content, and I got wrapped up in a game some people might know, EVE Online. I was early on the ground floor on basically the Reddit Alliance, and then that Reddit Alliance grew to be one of the biggest groups in the game, and through that I got invited to speak on a panel in Iceland, and started doing esports casting with them, so casting their yearly tournaments. They said, hey, we keep flying out here. Are you looking for a job? So dropped out of university to run away to the gaming circus, worked with CCP in Iceland for 2 years, and then moved on to Riot Games, working on League of Legends, doing their English language Europe community for 3.5 years, or actually 5 years I was at Riot. So that was Dublin and then London. And then I had sort of seen the way Riot had launched their partner program. I was a big part of launching that in Europe. And I kind of had a different spin on it that I thought was more human and was really going to do some things that creators hadn't seen studios do for them. And also that, I had played RuneScape in the past. I had seen, the changes that were going on at Jagex, that they were really focusing on leveling up the team and making the games the absolute best that they could be, and said, hey, I'd really love to bring sort of my spin. Here's the sort of scope and ideation and theories I have about influencer, and they were very receptive. And yeah, the rest is sort of history. So been at Jagex now for 1.5 years, a little bit more. And yeah, it's been a great time. I'm really enjoying it. And I really love the creators, are super fun to work with, and the community. And I'm really happy that I joined to make it in for RuneFest 2019, which is a really great sort of first welcoming into the
Don't rub it in. I think I joined, and I was like, one of the things I was most looking forward to, is working in community was, oh my god, all the fans were going to get to meet at RuneFest. And then I've had, this last year no RuneFest, obviously because of COVID. So I've been here just over 1 year now, and I've yet to experience a RuneFest. It breaks my heart.
I miss gaming events quite a lot. And fun fact is, it's actually one of the big pieces of influencer that we've not been able to do. A lot of times, influencer, both support and marketing, are about relationships, and I find that face-to-face relationships, it's really hard to replicate, especially when somebody has a lot, as most influencers do, have a lot of online relationships. I don't really have the time to be, gaming with people every day and that sort of stuff. So getting to meet them up in person and grab a beer is sort of a great way to build those relationships.
And speaking of building those relationships,
hopefully I'll be able to see some of you. And once events comes back, hopefully I'll see some of our viewers at some gaming events.
I'm just hoping that even I could do some things where, like, at some point go to London on my own travels and just be like, hey, is anyone in town? Bring a few JMods down, have people meet. I'd love to just do that stuff.
Yeah, we used to do that all the time.
It sucks that we can't do it. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So in terms of, for anyone who's watching as aspiring creator, right, they're hearing you talk about what you do and what it means to be a creator and why and how we work with them. I'm sure there's some people out there who want to be those people, right? They want to be working with Jagex. They want to have that, opportunities to do some really cool partnerships with them, like we're doing with Killerfishy right now. To start at the beginning, if I'm a new creator, right, I'm someone who's got the passion to do it. I'm already maybe starting to do it and dabble in it, but I don't really know what it takes to be a good creator, or a successful one, probably is a better word. What are some mistakes you've seen a lot of people make that you could tell people to avoid to help them really start to build their own audience and their own following, or even, and not just as a person on their account, but also the kind of people who maybe reach out to you and look for things from you and maybe don't fulfill certain criteria, both sides of the coin, so to speak?
Yeah. So ultimately every creator is going to have a brand and a strategy that's all their own, right? So that's I
Mhm.
think what somebody can bring to the table is, you know, you can you need to have a sort of, what is your brand? What is the selling point you have as a creator? So are you doing, is it craft, right? So like the quality of what I'm producing, the edits or the animation or whatever thing I'm doing is trying to push the level of being experimental and trying new things, or trying to
Mhm.
up the level of quality. I'm making hand gestures and they're not even in frame.
I
Up the
know, I
level
know
of
the feel.
quality, up the level of quality. Uh, so that's what really makes them stand out. Others are going to be more focused on a personal brand, or they're going to create a series, or you know, they want to try something entirely new, right? So maybe they're going to be the person that plays RuneScape with weird objects, right? Like I play RuneScape using bananas only, or something like that, right? Um, a thing
I
people have
play
done
like
for
a
other
banana.
games, right? Well, Um, but but in terms of like core mechanical advice that I think everyone can use, and it's sort of standardized wisdom in the industry right now, is one, you're going to want to schedule, right? Uh, the creator space is saturated. You know, you're essentially, especially on channels like Twitch, there's a limited number of eyeballs, and you're competing in many ways against other creators, but you know, you want to be building relationships with those creators, and you don't, it's not really a direct competition. It's more about making it easy for people to find your content, and that often means a schedule. So streaming from from X time to X time, these 4 or 5 days of the week,
Mhm.
or I'm uploading on every week on Thursdays or something like that, right? That's very powerful um, for sorry, I just got pinged. That's very powerful for sort of training your audience about when they should expect your content. And your viewers are going to enjoy that too, because they get to pattern their day around it and have something to look forward to that day. Also, additionally, so I think one of the big things that a lot of platforms have unlocked, especially in the stream space, is making sure that until you find somewhere where your audience naturally gathers, you're putting your content in as many places as you can get it. So if you're streaming on Twitch and you're not a partner, I would strongly suggest restreaming on YouTube, restreaming on Facebook. I would suggest putting your videos on Facebook if you're doing YouTube. Generally, unless you have a partnership that specifically restricts you from putting your content on other platforms, the platforms now are so strong that you really want to put it everywhere and see where the audience appears, right? Um, and similarly to that, I think there's a lot of like not quite partner tiers for people, where you're not really getting a ton of benefit directly at that point, and it's more like a primer to become a higher level partner. Oftentimes, those are not actually effective because they will have that rider that says only
Mhm.
be on our platform. So
Mhm.
oftentimes those can actually be a negative thing for your brand, because they really take away a lot of your potential audience reach by forcing you onto a single platform. So you really want to be smart with those deals. Um, and then finally, I think the one piece that really would jump out is, make sure that you are thinking about working with brands pretty early, right? And that you're making it easy for brands to work with you. So be make it easy for people to contact you. Have a business email that's easily accessible and that you actively monitor. Um, be on the lookout for streamer organizations or content creator organizations. Maybe not even a business, but a group like these content force organizations like 100 Thieves, right? They're maybe not that exact brand, but there are a bunch of like brands that are maybe working at a smaller micro or medium tier influencer scale that would love to have you and can provide a lot of cross share amongst the group. And then finally, I would say that's working with other creators and finding a group of creators that you can work together to produce content on and that you can share audiences on, so that and schedule your content so that you're not directly competing with one another. I think that can be a very powerful tool in your toolbox as well, in terms of growing that initial audience. And keep in mind when you grow your audience, it's an exponential growth pattern usually, right? So you're going to start very small and continue to be very small for quite a while, unless you make large host gains or you get the algorithm blesses you on YouTube and suddenly you have 1 million views on a video. It can be very hard. It can be very discouraging to have 2, 3, 4 viewers in the chat, especially if you're a streamer. I would suggest treating those 3 or 4 viewers with the same level of enthusiasm as 100 viewers, and that focus on getting people to follow your brand and become consistent supporters and sort of fall in with your schedule. And that's the best way to provide consistent, solid growth over time. And as you grow, the percentage gains are going to provide more and more. It's a 10% gain on 10 viewers is 1 viewer. On 100 viewers, it's 10. On 1,000 viewers, it's 100, right? So you're getting these really compounding percentage gains as you grow your audience. So don't let small initial audiences discourage you.
That's some really good advice there. But no, I think this is what people want to hear, right? And if you are watching, by the way, we are reading chat. If you, Rubik's been dropping in some great insights as well. I know,
probably should.
Oh, well, I am. Don't worry, that's what I'm here for as a host. If you have any questions for Bolton or what it means to be a creator, we can sneak those in. It's fine. Also, I'm going to try and... so if you saw, I was going to quickly sneak in a Dag King kill, because Bolton's answers are lengthy and in detail, which is awesome, by the way, and very helpful for me as a host, who's also trying to play RuneScape. I'm going to probably sneak off and do some kills whilst we're talking. So not just for those of you who are in the chat now who have questions, but to make sure you pass those to us. I waffled there, but point being, drop questions in the chat if you have any. I'll pass them on. If I'm starting out, you've given me some amazing advice, and you touched on it a little bit, and it's a mistake I've seen a lot of people make, is unless you kind of ride a wave of something. So I think a great example is Jacksepticeye. I remember went from 0 to 1 million super quick because he was on the VR wave, right? Unless you catch a trend, like how long do you think it usually takes for someone to really find who they are as a creator, build an audience, and start to actually kind of become someone of note within a community? And I know it's different for everybody, but is there an expectation you would say for people to wait for?
So this is sort of something I think about in a larger scope, is that competitive skills, things where lots of people are trying to do a thing, unless you get lucky and you hit the right percentage or you catch the right wave, as you said, it's very much that sort of 10,000 hours to really be an expert kind of thing, right? The people, a lot of the biggest creators that you'll see today started out and did the grind for 2 or 3 years before they hit it big and started growing big channels, and it became their sole source of income, and they were very successful. That time frame is shortened significantly, I would say, over the past sort of 5 to 10 years. So I would say, it's going to be up to each individual person. Take a very good look at what's your life situation, what sort of goals and needs you need to make, and what sort of time can you commit to influencer. And you should have a really strong agreement and strong goals about, hey, in order for this to work for me, I want to be at this place at this time. And if it's really not working for you, then you have to change something, right? And I think a lot of times a creator will have some success. This I see a lot. A creator will have some success. They'll get some good viewership and they'll be happy with where they're at. And then things don't really evolve or change, and they basically just continue to do that content again and again and again. And then they just churn out slowly because they're not really thinking about their brand and growing. They're thinking about just retention, and that they've gotten to this pace where there's not a reason to tune into the content, right? So, is it a guide where the reason is I'm tuning in to learn more about something I'm going to try and replicate myself? Is it a personality stream where I'm laughing and having a great time, and it's like I'm playing with my friends, but I don't need to be at my PC. I can be watching on my phone or chilling on the couch, and it's something I like to have in the background that I find enjoyable and makes me happy? Is it a creative piece where you're trying to build a series around a narrative role-playing character inside the world, and it's about their adventures, this character adventuring through the thing, and people are tuning in to the next episode to find out what happens to the character? I think that there's this place where you can fall into content that doesn't have a purpose. And I think that if all of your content has a purpose and you're sticking with it and you're doing everything, I think a year is a pretty reasonable time frame to get solid returns, to have that sort of nest egg of viewers. And I say that's normally, depending on the game you're playing, 20 to 50 people watching you live stream, or 1,000 to 5,000 people watching your YouTube videos on average, right? That's really the place where you've got the base, and your percentage growth is going to actually be a reasonable return. So yeah, I think that's just sort of like, it's all about your own personal needs and the time you can commit. It may be something where you say, I'm going to do weekly content, a weekly video, and it's going to be something I do in my after hours, after work, and I can let this grow for 3 years. And if it doesn't work out, it's not a big blow to me. Other people will have tighter time frames. It's all about your own personal situation.
And there's a question here
now
from
I'm distracted
P4L.
by chat. I'm like, aha.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So P4L asked, how do you involve community to do content if you feel like most of the content opportunities are very solo focused for a content creator? Do you have any suggestions?
So I think it's a lot of times doing things solo, a solo activity, can be something that the group togetherness is just talking to each other and having good banter and hanging out in a Discord, right? So like the thing that I think that almost all creators, there's sort of a commonality, is that the most successful creators create content that is aspirational, right? That you wish you were doing the same thing yourself, so that you had a good group of friends to play with, and you were chilling out in Discord, and maybe, this group is just, because they're content creators and they're used to banter, they're just a little bit snappier and they've got the joke on the ready, and it's just this enhanced version of a fun group of friends having fun playing a game, even if they're not partied together. I think there's a lot to say for that. And there's a lot of, you can think of your current content creators, there's a lot of, like Iron Mouse and Sea Dog VA, or Shroud always has like Binans in the chat or whatever, right? Like they're husband and wife, but that's the kind of just chat. They don't have to be playing together to actually really achieve. Yeah, sorry, I keep looking at. I'm going to turn off chat.
I know this is my problem
so
every
bad.
week, right?
This is why I didn't turn it on.
Yeah, I have to do that as well, and I'm playing at the same time. I mean, barely, because I'm just doing it. But we've talked a lot about, I think, the video side of being a creator, but there's actually opportunity in things like cosplay and art, especially with community art like ours, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about those communities and what it means to be someone in that space, and the kind of opportunities that you tend to partner with them on, that someone could maybe think, oh, maybe I can demonstrate, I can do this, or kind of showcase this off and find those opportunities themselves?
Yeah, so I think the one that I've probably worked with the most is the cosplay space. And I think that's a really interesting microcosm of a lot of the work that other creators do, but it just accentuates a lot of the problem that other creators have, because cosplay content is almost always, unless you're doing sort of makeup test, top torso, TikTok or Instagram style content, is high work for basically a single piece, right? So you need to be involving your community in the work in progress, and you need to be, if you really want to make it a profession, right, your sole source of income, and you're not looking to do it casually. Keep in mind, that's one thing I should caveat all of these discussions. If you want to do a YouTube video and you're not looking to be a content creator as your job, you should absolutely make whatever you want, because sometimes people will it'll just have that hook and somebody will love it, and you'll find a resonance with the community. and it just becomes this wonderful passion project, right? So
Hmm.
I would say, especially in a place like cosplay, the vast majority of cosplayers are not doing it as like a full-time professional content creator. They're doing it because they love it and they want to get into these cosplays and they want to represent the characters from the game. So I think the idea of when you want to commercialize it, that's all about making sure that you are you are good to do outreach. You're prepared for somebody to outreach to you. You're
Hmm.
potentially reaching out to them themselves. So, if you have maybe done a bunch of cosplay content on a game and it's been relatively successful, reaching out to that brand can often be put you on their radar, and that when they have an opportunity that needs somebody who has showed passion in the past and done all this work, that they're somebody that they'll reach out to for commission work. That's something that's
Hmm.
happened with, I think a lot of people will know Willow Creative, right? So Willow Creative is a full-time professional cosplayer, and she had done a bunch of work with RuneScape in the past. So when we were looking to get some high skill craft stuff done, she had the right mix of a great audience that we loves RuneScape content, and she's totally professional and able to turn around in appropriate time frames, and was very clear with her quotes and is very clear with work in progress stuff. And so I think that's especially on those longer form projects like cosplay, something that's
Hmm.
uh, really strong and really helps you get ahead. And then once you get a reputation, um, people like myself talk to other influencer people at other companies. There are conversations that go on. Hey, who did you work with for this? How did that go? That can be a great way, if you have a really good experience with one company, to use them as a reference to talk to other organizations.
Hmm.
And keep in mind that doesn't always have to be a major studio. Maybe it's bringing the mascot for an esports team to life and making that rather than just a drawing, it's a full scale mascot costume or something like that, right? And the same thing kind of applies to art as well. I would say the majority of artists are not doing it as a full time or even for profit content creator job, right? They're
Hmm.
doing it because they love the game and they love the content and they want to express their skill. And then for those people, if they're looking to commercialize it, it's sort of the same thing as, make sure your commitment is known, your time frames are what you say they will be, that you've got an idea of the price point and what you want to negotiate around, and that you're contactable and going to be having good communications with the person who's hired you. So,
Hmm.
providing updates and the like.
By the way, I can imagine chat's freaking out seeing my heavily disorganized bank right now, but that's the way it rolls with me. I've always had a bad bank. I'm sorry, not sorry. I will find the time at some point. I might even do a stream on it. I actually saw someone asking in the chat actually if we were going to do if we were going to do a repeat stream of the JVM stuff. Yes, we will totally keep doing those like weekly style streams. Won't be every week, but we are going to do JVM for sure. And I finally got a Dino challenge, so I'm pretty happy. Oh, I'm going the wrong way after saying that. So yes, so people are saying some really great information in there. Chat, is there anything you want to know about what it means to be a creator, or actually I want a custom instance, or anything like that? Just before I keep going,
If
I'm
anybody
just trying to
wants to
see
do
if I
any
missed any
research,
questions.
if anybody wants a great reference, I constantly talk up this guy because he does really good content. There's a streamer and YouTuber, Devin Nash, who is actually one of the owners of a large scale influencer talent agency. He has a bunch of great YouTube videos on sort of these similar topics if you want to ever go into a deep dive. And he has some different
Mm.
spins and takes on things, but it's always good to get lots of perspectives when you're trying to decide how you want to manage your brand and content.
Yeah, some great stuff out there as well. And I think one of the things is probably as well, like, we talk about opportunities. Mobile's coming up, obviously, and new platforms, new players usually bring a lot of opportunity. Like, if someone was thinking of creating stuff for new mobile players, what would you recommend they go check out to kind of like if they wanted to learn from any other games, or even just from your recommendations? What kind of things people who are interested in making content for all the new mobiles coming in players probably focus on?
Yeah, I think there's a couple big categories that tend to do really well with new things, new versions of things, right? Like, so I think one is guide content is so really, really strong, right? How do I do this in this space where the sort of the whole gamer ecosystem has really evolved? Like, if you think about when you were playing a game 5 years ago, how often did somebody talk about a win condition, right? Like, what is the win condition we're trying to reach? So, or what's like even the idea of like maximizing for DPS. Nobody who had an NES was concerned about what their DPS was when they were playing a game, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this evolution of efficiency and everyone wanting to play at their absolute best and get, especially in a game like RuneScape, but for any game really, playing your best or being efficient or providing some sort of trick. People love tricks, like, oh, check out this cool way you can do this thing and it's slightly better, right, than the way you know before. So that's one of the best categories of content I can recommend. The second one that does really well is like stunt content, right? So I'm going to do a thing that nobody's done before, or that's really hard, or that's totally ridiculous, right? And it's just so absurd that people are going to want to tune in and click just to see somebody do that thing that you're saying you're going to do in the thumbnail.
Yeah.
And then finally, I would say the more that you can be trying to reach audiences or people or a niche that you think is unoccupied by another creator, right? So, I don't really see anybody doing this, or, I saw somebody small try this and they didn't really stick with it, or it didn't really work, but I think I can do it better. And I think that is really how you're going to find a niche that performs best for you and doesn't sort of get crowded out by competition, right?
So wait, so you're saying that you can actually look at what other people are doing and go, wow, actually, I think I could do a better take on that.
Yes.
I also, people judging my PVM skills. Yes, I'm trying to concentrate on the conversation rather than the PVMing, so I'm trying to do my best. So thanks for the tips because it helps, but I'm going to have to keep up my my health in the meantime. But yeah, sorry, to go back to the question. Yeah, so you were actually saying you can actually look at what other people are doing and build on that yourself and maybe put your own spin on it, even if it doesn't look like it was successful for them.
Yeah, and I think that's something where, that is realistically, a lot of the most popular content today started like that. Think about the explosion of VTubers, right? VTubers 3 or 4 years ago, low traffic, low audience, low polish really on the models and the rigging, and it was really, didn't really hit that resonance, but some people looked at it and said, hey, there's some pickup in my market, particularly at that point in Asian markets. There's some pickup here. People are liking it, but they're churning out. They're sort of tuning out of the content pretty quickly. Maybe I can do that better. And that is Genesis, created entire major creator corporations, like look at HoloLive, right? So that kind of content, and also that goes to the same for even trending content, right? It doesn't have to be something that's obscure or you think you can do it better. You might think, hey, that's a hot trend and I've got a really great spin on that's different than what everybody else is doing. Because it doesn't have to be better, it just has to be different and something that people want to see. So I think there's you're going to be crafting. The more unique your brand is and the more resonant it is with the widest audience possible, the better your chances for success. And it's all about the work and the personality and the blood, sweat, and tears that's the difference maker about whether you're going to succeed or not, right? So, and to some extent, luck.
Yeah, I mean that does play a part in it, though, right? Like I know, I started my career technically as a community creator. I didn't end up working on the game directly, but I ended up working on it much later. And me getting discovered at E3, yes, I took myself out to E3 and gave myself the opportunity to be discovered. It was complete luck that I met the right person at the right time who needed the right things from me and gave me the right opportunities to end up having a career. And it does play a factor, right? Like people need to understand that you can. There's only so much opportunity you can create for yourself, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and I think it's also, you got to be a little bit lucky, but without the work, the luck won't do anything for you, right? The
Yeah.
luck is the cherry on top, where maybe you're not getting 20,000 viewers, you're getting 200,000 viewers because the algorithm decided that this thumbnail was great, and then
Yeah.
that was the break, right? So, you know, ultimately, if there was a way to just by work procedurally become a successful creator, there would be a lot more successful creators.
Just died on stream, not paying enough attention. Whoops. Rip.
Oh, did you
Thank
stop?
God. Rip.
Nobody saw
Rip.
it. Nobody
Yeah.
saw it.
So it's one of the risks when we're playing, like when we're doing this and chatting. It's all good. I had a ring of death charge at least, so I also died in the most stupid way. That's fine. But yeah. So chat. Any last questions? We're coming to the last kind of final few sections. Is there any questions anyone has? Anything you want to ask Warden before we go? Warden Mold Bolton. See, this is what happens when I try to play the game and talk. Yeah, insulated
I'm
boots may have
also
been good for
looking at
stream.
chat right now. So,
I also didn't take resonance and a shield, which I should have done as well. I probably should have been shield switching. So, but there we are. I know
people are
that.
giving people are giving you advice to fight the melee one.
And I think like actually like that's something we can talk about as well, and it's some of the reasons why I've had so much fun doing JVM. I think loads of people out there are similar to me, where I've always watched creators. When Raksh came out, I was just watching creators kind of hammering away at the boss, and just going like, how do they do this? And even when I've watched tutorials, like I used Protox's video to help me beat Fight Kiln the other day, for example. Those people who are creating the expert content, it's kind of a unique thing about the RuneScape community for us, really, isn't it? Is that yes, influencers are often the creators are often some of the best people out there, but really there's so much to teach on this game that there's opportunity, even if you're not a pinnacle expert, to still make relevant content today, right? Because there's still a lot
Absolutely.
of unexplored territory or territory you could try different things. And random player saying that's your problem then watching Protox. Protox's guide got me my cape, man. Like, that's all I'm gonna say. Protox's guide did good for me. Worked. Pretty proud of this
And I
one.
think,
So.
I think also, especially for RuneScape, there is a lot of areas where, there's genres of content that exist for other games that I don't think really the audience is trained to be looking for when it comes to RuneScape. And all it really takes is somebody to make it apparent to a wider audience that that's content that they want to tune into. And that can shoot off, even if it's not something that you would do playing the game yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Think about, this is an old school example, but think about Swampletics, right? And Settled. Nobody else is trying to do that, but they're engaged in it just because the narrative is so interesting and the content is such high quality. And so figuring out those lines or figuring out what something new and creative is can often be a big unlocker as well.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask one last thing for you, which is the creator program itself. I know there's a lot of things you're really proud about it. What do you want to tell anyone out there who wants to be a RuneScape creator and end up in that program about what's at the end of the rainbow? What does it mean to be part of the creator program? And why is it something to really aspire to chase?
Yeah, so right now we're building out the support of the program. So it provides a lot of sort of connective perks. We're sharing media early so that they can have the best content for their channels. We're having direct discussions with the creators based on what their needs are or their disruptions or pieces or potential content that they're thinking about. How could we support? But in the future, we're looking to roll out a public-facing application. There'll be a website with all the details and requirements and perks and all that sort of stuff that we'll be publishing sort of in the second half of this year. And from there, I can talk about one of the things that we're already going to probably be rolling out in the remainder of this month is we're looking at rolling out creator mental health counseling. So, for instance, being a creator is very difficult sometimes. It's a lot of solo work. It's a lot of public scrutiny. You will occasionally pick up trolls that, if you're not used to receiving that kind of messaging, can be really emotionally impactful, even if they're a very small minority. And so we really, and Jagex as a whole is really committed to the importance of mental health, through our charity partners. So we're actually working with one of our charity partners to offer to creators 6 to 8 months of in-person mental health counseling for anybody that chooses to activate it. And Jagex will just cover all the details. You don't need to worry about it. So that's one of the ways, and we're looking to build on additional sort of human services, and also game services. And oftentimes it can be nice just to be able to contact a dev about a piece of content you're working on and make sure that, hey, is this going to keep working this way, because I'm looking to do this guide and I don't want to have to redo it right away. These sorts of bits of information. We're obviously pretty sensitive about what we disclose and want to make sure that we're not giving anybody like a merch advantage or anything like that. But that's a great resource there for when we can share that sort of information. That's one of the places we do it.
Awesome. And yeah, thank you, Root, for confirming it is open to anyone, including artists, writers, etc. Really, it's anyone that hits that level and kind of starts to become kind of a main person in the community, it's fair to say, right?
Yeah, it's really all about having that seed community. One of the things we're trying to help people is growing their audience, and for our help to really be effective, they need sort of that seed for those, as we talked about before, those percentage gains to be relevant for them as a creator.
Fantastic. Right, that's all we have time for today. Well, Bob, thank you so much for joining us. I know there was a bunch of people during the chat who were saying, this is all really helpful, and thank you. Everyone got to see me throw away my first dino death, I think, actually. So enjoy that as well. Just you didn't get your JVM fixed, but you got a death in there. Bolton, anything you want to say just before we go?
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It was super fun, and while I didn't have any tea, it was certainly a great tea time.
I know, I forgot to bring my little teacup and everything. It was just been so long.
I don't drink tea or coffee. I just drink Dr. Pepper, so.
That's not a plug, not hashtag ad. For any of you watching who are aspiring creators, there's loads of opportunity coming out with mobile. We can't wait to see what you create. So if you do create anything, tag it, hashtag RSMobile. That's going to be the main hashtag you'll see next week. Coming up on Friday, we are going to have, speaking of creators, a reveal of the next Elder God Wars content to follow straight after the Battle of the Monolith, pretty much. That's coming up very soon. We're really excited to talk about it. And you'll get your first reveal of what that is going to be called, what kind of content it is, and the key art in a really cool partnership we've done with Killer Fishy. So don't miss out on that. And then next week is the big day. Yes, winter has come. We're going to finally be launching RuneScape Mobile for realsies on iOS and Android. We are all really excited. There's been a lot of hard work going on behind the scenes to get us to this point. We can't wait to get it into your hands. For some of you, again, if you used to join us on the beta, but for many of you, I know it'll be your first time. Stay tuned. Next Wednesday, we're going to have a very special stream where we're actually thinking of potentially, not 100% confirmed, but I'm going to drop it out there because it's like 90%, probably going to hit the deployment button live, which will be a cool little moment that we'll share with you all. So until then, thank you very much for joining us. Don't miss out on Friday. It will be at 4 p.m. So that'll be 3 p.m. game time, but 4 p.m. UK time. It will be quite a short stream, but it will be a cool little reveal. Until then, see you very soon, and have a lovely weekend if we don't hear from you. Ta-ra.